Hello, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Matty, and this is the Yankee and the Brit. And today we're going to come at you with some Carson Wentz to the Colts talk. And Matty, all I'm going to start out by saying is I think when they talk winners and losers, and I'll tell you more why in a second, the biggest winner in this trade, Carson Wentz.
Yeah, definitely.
Not the Colts, not the Eagles, Carson Wentz. But I want to see what you think about it.
Yeah, definitely Carson Wentz. We spoke on the podcast about Wentz rumors. We said the Colts is the only place where Wentz can go and recover some form just because of the coaching staff, and the Colts have an ability to actually protect him so he can hold on to the ball a bit longer and then pick his men, whereas in Philadelphia he couldn't do that. I'm not going to lie, I can only see Philadelphia as the loser in this, but not because of the trade capital that they've got, just because it kind of shows how the mighty have fallen. And obviously, I'll always love to see the Eagles lose in the NFC, so that's good with me.
I hate the Eagles, but that's because of an NFC championship game, so we won't talk about that. I find the Eagles to be the loser, but I don't think they're a huge loser. And the reason why is I don't think Carson Wentz was ever going to get back to form in Philly. I think that ship had sailed. And with more that comes out on how he was upset about Foles and he was upset about Hurts. And I think he's a sensitive dude, and that's part of the problem. But another reason I think the Eagles, at least this year, are the loser is because they have to eat $33.8 million in dead cap, which is the most in NFC or NFL history for one player. But a lot of teams are eating a lot of cap because the Lions are eating $29 million this year. The Rams are eating a bunch on Goff. It's a huge year, but that 33.8 is huge. But with it being a third-round pick this year and a second-round conditional pick next year, which I believe will be a first-round pick, because who doesn't believe that Carson Wentz is going to play 70% and make the playoffs, or just 75% unless he gets hurt? I think that's a number one. But it was perfect for him because going back to Frank Reich, that's where he played his best. That's where he was playing at, where they were talking about him in the MVP conversation. The year they won the Super Bowl, he was playing out of this world before he got hurt. So I think this is exactly where he needs to be. Not only will he know the system, but mentally, I think his confidence comes back under Frank Reich, because I think a lot of times as an athlete, and granted, I was never a college athlete or anything, but even in high school, a coach can give you confidence. A coach can prop you up and then you get your confidence back. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but if it's going to happen anywhere for Carson Wentz, I think it's the Colts. And I think the Colts risk very little on, and don't get me wrong, I love first and second round picks. I think they build your team, but you don't have a quarterback. And I believe Wentz is actually an upgrade from Jacoby Brissett and Phillip Rivers. And with the two-headed running game, the offensive line and the defense, I think they're almost the Eagles of 2017.
Yeah, I think it really works for Wentz in the sense of he's going to be the only guy in Indy as well. Like, they're not going to put Jacoby Brissett in. I'll be kind of surprised if Jacoby Brissett is there next year. Like, I feel if I was them, I'd try and trade him away for a fifth round pick, maybe.
I think he's a free agent.
He's a free agent, isn't he?
Yeah.
And as soon as I said that, I was like, he's probably a free agent. Yeah.
Even if he wasn't, I agree with you. I'd get rid of him.
Yeah, which then gives the Colts the opportunity to. If I was the Colts, I would draft a quarterback then to bring somebody in. So like later in the round, so maybe a Mac Jones that kind of guy.
Or even wait till the late rounds and bring in a veteran who's not gonna make Carson Wentz worry about losing his starting job. Like, do not bring in Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, don't bring in Fitzmagic. No.
But now I know he's retired now, but like a Josh McNown and those guys, somebody like that who will mentor him and teach him, that'd be great. But you don't ever want, he seems, like I said, soft. So you don't want to put somebody behind him breathing over his neck.
Yeah, you don't want to put somebody in who's a fan favorite. He's had enough of not being the fans' favorite, I think. And I think in Indy he'll do really well. It's quite a supportive fan base, apart from obviously the shenanigans with Andrew Luck. But apart from that, it's quite a supportive fan base. I think he'll do really well. He's from North Dakota, right? So it's kind of Indianapolis, North Dakota, kind of very similar. Like backgrounds, I
hunting
think it
and
works.
fishing
Yeah,
and all that stuff. Yeah.
yeah, I think it works really well for him. I think this is the place he had to go, and I I can't see an issue with the Colts really, because if they make it to the playoffs, then it was worth. Then obviously Wentz is back to his best, well, near to his best. So if they make the playoffs, then he's worth a first round pick. I think we all say Carson Wentz at his best is easily a first round pick. Like, I think that would be a ridiculous thing to not say. But like, if he makes it back to the playoffs, then you've got his confidence back up. He makes the first round pick. Then that's fine. That's all okay. But the losers are the Eagles. Like what? Like their organization have shattered a guy beyond repair for them that he then wanted to leave 3 years after winning a regular season MVP or nearly being the regular season MVP. And they also won a Super Bowl and they've just shattered him. And it's the fan base in Philly is harsh. The coaching was harsh. Like he's clearly a good quarterback, but yeah, they just couldn't get anything for him if that's what they're accepting as well.
Right. And it just got to the point where that relationship was so tore up, they had to move on. And
Yeah.
I know the Bears were involved, but they decided not to bid against the Colts and that kind of shit. But the thing with Carson Wentz is he's got all the talent. Obviously, he was a second overall pick, right? And if I'm not mistaken, the guy won 4 national championships in a row at a D2 school. He played at MVP level in 17. He played great in 18 till he got hurt. Then they shot his confidence. Chris Long, or one of the Long brothers, whichever one's the defense end, I forget. He built a shrine to Foles in the locker room, which couldn't have helped the situation. And I think, like, if you're looking at it in draft picks, right? If they make the playoffs, that first pick next year that they give up is a late one. So who the fuck would you have got there as a quarterback, right?
Yeah.
This year you're giving up a third. But even if you would have used your first round pick in the draft and didn't move and say a quarterback falls to you, like you said, who do you end up with? Mac Jones? At least I know Carson Wentz has elite talent if he can put it together. Where Mac Jones, you don't know what he is going to be in the NFL at all, you know? So I think for Indy, it was a safe gamble. Like it's still a gamble, but it was a safe gamble.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you would take like India loaded, they're ready to go. So they just needed a quarterback. And if they whiff on Wentz, then fine. You know, he wasn't the guy. You took a shot and you see what happens. I'm sure there'll be some other quarterbacks around. Then if he whiffs, then you bring in Fitzmagic like next year, like whatever you want to do, because your side is loaded. You're going to be fine. So you may as well, you missed out on Stafford. Like that was probably the guy, that was probably the number one at the top of the board because they're not going to get Deshaun Watson. And I think Wentz is a better pick than Garoppolo because you have to give up a lot less to get Wentz. And Wentz or Sam Darnold, probably Wentz has more high-end talent than Sam Darnold as well. They can maybe bring in a Marcus Mariota, like to back him up if they really want to. If he gets to the training camps and you think, holy shit, he is terrible.
Well, and then the thing with Sam Darnold, too, the reason you go after Wentz instead of Darnold if you're the Colts isn't necessarily like even based on talent, which I mean, it is to a point, but it's Sam Darnold's young. He's not going to help you win a Super Bowl next year. They're banking on the next year or two, Carson Wentz with Frank Reich, getting them in the mix. The only thing I say is you have to re-sign T.Y. Hilton. And with your left tackle retiring, you have to figure out something there. But they have a lot of money in free agency, so you go get a left tackle, re-sign T.Y., and that team's ready to go right away.
They could get rid of T.Y. Hilton and pick up one of the wide receivers
in
the draft. That's going to be, there's, by all accounts, the high end in Pro Football Focus have said the high end of this draft is better than the high end of last draft for wide receivers. So you could get rid of T.Y. Hilton and pick up some. I would rather keep him.
Right. You have to give Wentz weapons. That's my point. Like, you just can't bring him in like the Eagles did, and then he's got nobody to throw to, where at one point Jefferson was the fastest guy on the field and the guy couldn't run anymore, you know? Yeah. So it's like at some point you got to make sure when you bring in a quarterback, you put players around him because there's very few guys who can carry a team.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Wentz has an opportunity to build his confidence behind that offensive line and that run game. So it's not all on his shoulders. And then, like, as they put the poor guy back together again, then he'll be fine. I mean, like, how are you gonna do that to a guy? Like, he's provided you like Nick Foles wasn't gonna win enough games in that NFL season to get you to the playoffs. He's just good. Once you get there, he can win a game with his shotgun arm. But Wentz was amazing throughout that whole season, and then you just treat him like garbage, and it's not really fair. I feel quite sorry for Carson Wentz. I think I'm going to be rooting for him down in Indy, to be perfectly honest.
I will say, I don't know if you watched McAfee yesterday, but I was dying laughing because Pat was so against him coming there. And the fact that he has to do a 180 right now on the guy, he was so backtracking. I'm like, dude, you fucking shit on Carson Wentz for 2 weeks. And now he's the quarterback, not only of your team, but the team you played for. Yeah, good luck backtracking on that one. But I actually think Carson Wentz is going to be better for the Colts than a lot of people do. I think me and Dan Orlovsky are the only two right now, and you now, that think that Carson Wentz can actually still play.
Well, I think Carson Wentz was the best option in the situation. Like, obviously, once Matt Stafford moves to LA, so you're missing out on that. You're not going to get Deshaun Watson. You're picking between possibly four quarterbacks, maybe. Jimmy G.
Which Wentz is better than Garoppolo, if you ask me.
Wentz is better than Garoppolo. So you're missing out. So Jimmy G, Sam Darnold, Marcus Mariota, and Carson Wentz. They're the four you're picking from. And you got Carson Wentz for a second and a third round pick, which is great for a quarterback.
Do we know if Mariota can even play? I mean, he had one good half a game or whatever with Oakland last year. But that's a risk. And like we just talked about, Sam Darnold's young. So if you're taking him, it's almost not a rebuild, but a reboot. You know what I mean? Whereas you're trying to see where you're going.
Yeah, I think as the dominoes fall, Marcus Mariota will come into a starting job next season, possibly.
In the Patriots.
But you're not going to pick him over Wentz. Yeah, the Patriots. Yeah, basically, that's where Marcus Mariota is probably going, isn't it? Yeah, but like, if you have Wentz, then Wentz is better than those three if you can get the best out of him, and you put him into a situation to get the best out of him. So good luck to the guy.
You'll agree with this. Carson Wentz is the best to go with Frank Reich in that offense because he already knows the comfort level. And Frank Reich is like, he's baptizing players. Like, this dude is like a real family oriented, good, like wholesome, moral guy. And that might be exactly what Carson Wentz needs, because I think him and Doug Peterson were clashing heads. And the weird thing about the Eagles is, so when Peterson leaves, you hear they say, well, Peterson left because he wanted to get rid of Wentz, and the Eagles were like, fuck that. But now the Eagles are getting rid of Wentz. So did he want to keep him, or were they just going to move on anyway? Like, it's some weird shit.
It was all to up the draft. It was all to up the trade that they were getting for. I think that proves it like we reported like last week that it was 2 second-round picks, right? Like we said that, but that offer wasn't on the table.
2/3.
That wasn't even on the table. Like, no, we said 2 second rounds last week, but that wasn't even on the table. And the Bears clearly weren't that interested. Like, the Bears could have easily put that package together. Maybe Wentz came out and said, trade me to the Colts, so I'm going to make this difficult for you. Does he have maybe he has a no trade clause in his contract? No,
and I think with the Bears, I think why they stopped is 2 reasons. One, I don't think they're sold that Nagy and that regime's going to be there. Yeah. But also, they gave up 2 first-round picks to get Khalil Mack, so now they're finally getting to draft again. I think they were afraid of pulling a Rams where they're not one piece away, maybe, and shooting themselves in the foot to get a quarterback that they may not be sold on. I think it would have been different. Now, granted, it's going to be a lot more, but I think you're willing to give up more for Watson and take that risk than you are Wentz if you're the Bears. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think that the Eagles now, are you sold on Jalen Hurts? Do you go get a quarterback? What do you do? So again, I almost think the Eagles got the worst of this trade, even though they ended up with compensation, because the Colts gave up what's going to end up probably being a 3rd and a 1. But even if that's the case, that means you got your quarterback a top 10 at least, right? If you keep him. And then if you're the Eagles, you don't even know what the fuck you have in Jalen Hurts, even though the kid was a baller in every big stage in college. The NFL is so different. And then if you start over by drafting a quarterback, who do you draft? What do you do? So I think the Eagles are rebuilding now, not even retooling, they're rebuilding.
Yeah, I think the Eagles have to give Hurts, a year, don't they? There's nobody that they're going to get in the draft that you can kind of say, oh yeah, let's give him a shot, because they'll, like, their whole fan base will just go absolutely mental, and the Philly fan base are evil, man. They're nuts. Like I love their passion for their team. Yeah, I love the passion for their team, but Jesus, like, so you've got to give Hurts the go because that's who the fans are liking at the minute. Where are they drafting? They're drafting in the top 10, aren't they? So they could possibly get Trey Lance or Zach Wilson or Justin Fields, depending on who drops to them.
Right.
But do you just stick with Hurts and maybe take a need, like take another need? Like, they have plenty of needs on that team. So
trade back, pick up more picks.
Yeah.
If somebody wants a quarterback and put more talent around Hurts.
Well, they need to get younger on. They need to get younger on offense as well. So like they could do with rebuilding their offense, trade back, take a wide receiver later in the draft, and then use the other picks. Yeah, offensive lineman. Yeah, that'll do it.
Protect Hurts a little, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, then you would use your top 10 pick on the offensive lineman, wouldn't you? But yeah,
if there's a tackle there, I would never spend a top 10 pick on a guard.
For a tackle. Yeah, for a tackle. Like Penei Sewell's not going to drop to them, but if there's another decent tackle around there, then you would take him, wouldn't you? So the Eagles are in the shit, like, basically.
Right now, if I'm them, I try to pile up as many draft picks as I can to build a team around Hurts and see what happens.
Yeah, at least they're in a terrible division. Like, I suppose that's the saving grace. Zach Ertz is apparently on the block as well. I think he's a free agent, or he's on the block or something like that. So they might be without him as well.
Dallas Goedert a few years ago, though. So
yeah. They've got a tight end like there, so he'll probably be shipped out, and they'll just totally rebuild their offense this season because their defense isn't horrific, and it's not like they're playing lights out offenses.
And I'm kind of joking, but honestly, you're going to have to go 9-7 to win that division because the Cowboys are consistently 8-8. 8-8.
Yeah. So, I think the Cowboys will be a lot better I think the Cowboys will be the best team in the division next season.
It's always a feel-good moment to shit on America's team, though.
Yeah. No, definitely. I get it. But I think they'll be the best team in the division with what the Eagles are doing. Obviously, I'm surprised the football team haven't been linked to more quarterback moves. Sam Darnold coming to the football team, I think that would work really well. Marcus Mariota, that's a good landing spot for the football team.
I want to know why there's not a discussion of Jerry franchising Dak and then trading him to Houston for Deshaun and some picks.
There's absolutely no way. I've gone through every scenario in my head where that could happen, and I was like, it's got to be Dak. You just trade Dak, Zeke, and then all of our picks. And you're like, that would work, but they won't take it.
If you give up Dak and Zeke, you might have been get away with giving up like one and a bunch of others, or 2 ones and a bunch of others.
Yeah.
I don't know. And you're Jerry Jones, and this is just me thinking, is a quarterback with the rest of that team plus Pollard's a solid fucking running back.
Yeah, definitely.
Not a bad idea.
It would work, but Dak's good enough. But there's enough, like, Indy have won that trade with the options that they had available. Obviously, I think, you probably think, Pat McAfee definitely thinks they should have just gone all out for Stafford at the start. But could they have beaten the Rams package? Like, they didn't have a bridge quarterback to get away.
I do think Stafford for himself, Indy would have been a better landing spot. Not that the Rams are bad. I just think Indy was like Cinderella in the shoe. You know what I mean? That fucker just fit.
Definitely.
I think it would have been better for Stafford. But again, I think the big winner in this whole trade is Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz, definitely. Carson Wentz is the biggest winner in this trade. Caption at the end, Carson Wentz, massive winner.
Right.
Easy. Yeah, Carson Wentz definitely the biggest winner in this trade. The Colts probably came off better than the Eagles, but not because of the trade, just because of the garbage that the Eagles have been doing for the past couple of years, rather than it's not to do with the trade. It's everything around the organization in the Eagles. That was the problem.
That's a good point to what I was going to say. Actually, there probably isn't even a loser in this trade because the Eagles had made that such a shit show. They had no choice but to move on.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You get what you can get at this point. And like we talked about, that's probably going to be a first round pick next year. Probably.
Definitely.
So in the scheme of things, you already had a disaster train wreck of a relationship. So to walk out with a first and a third by the time it's over ain't a bad deal. The Colts gamble very little on a guy who may be their future, and Carson Wentz gets reborn with the guy who helped him become who he was.
Yeah, I think the Eagles might be a bit gutted that they didn't get a first this year, because then they could have used that on a quarterback and then used their later round first on whatever other needs they have, like a guard or lineman, basically. But the way around that is they got the best that they could get. The Eagles aren't the losers of the trade. They're just messed up. Like, they're just messed up real bad. But hey, they did the best of what they could get. The Colts, that was definitely the right move for them. Like, what else are you going to add to that team with a second?
Yeah,
one first round pick. Let's just call it a first round pick. But what else are you going to add to that team? Once Stafford is off the board, then Wentz was the next man up.
Yeah, who's better than Carson Wentz that's out there right now that's available once Stafford's gone?
Yeah, I think it's who's better than Carson Wentz is potential.
Watson,
who's better than Carson Wentz's ceiling? Yeah, of course. Who's better than Carson Wentz's ceiling is what, like, my personal view. Sam Darnold had a better season than Carson Wentz because he was on the Jets, and
right. Like, I don't even bring him in though because they're trying to win now. But I agree with you.
Yeah, of course. But Wentz's ceiling
Watson's
is better.
Never going to go there because of in division.
Yeah, of course. So that's about it.
Yeah, I just think that it was the best option, and I actually don't think it's a bad one. I know everybody hates on Carson Wentz, and I'm either going to look like a genius or a fucking idiot, but I think he plays well with Frank Reich next year. So we'll see.
I think the first half of the season is totally dedicated to building the guy's confidence back up and teaching him not to throw the ball away. So it's a very ground-orientated offense. And then later down the line is when he'll be back throwing the ball again. And I think a lot of people are hating on it because it's kind of clickbait worthy at the minute, isn't it? Saying that they're garbage, you know?
Also, like, you don't need Wentz to be like all-time great.
Yeah.
You just need his talent to show 2 or 3 times a game.
Yeah,
run the ball, little
sucks,
short,
man.
And then some deep ones. He loves throwing the deep ball. So if you can get him back to that short passing, run the ball, and then take shots, I think they're going to be good. And like I said, I think they just ruined him because I think mentally he's a little soft and they need to work, like, baby him more. And Frank Reich knows that.
Yeah, I think if he 100% comes in and they say you're the guy, then he'll be fine. He'll be fine. The Colts are probably going to be in the playoffs. So it's second and a first round pick. Hey, everybody's kind of
even though
happy.
The AFC is going to be tough for the next few years, but yes, absolutely. I think they'll be in the playoffs because if you look at that division, it's them and the Titans because, I mean, without Deshaun Watson, do the Texans even have the chance of winning a game?
With Deshaun Watson, do the Texans have a chance of winning a game? Like they had Deshaun Watson last season.
Without him, yeah.
Yeah, they had Deshaun Watson last season and they won 4 games, wasn't it? So it's kind of like...
Right, I'm just saying when you play even a crappy Texans team, you got to be worried about Deshaun Watson. Now it's like, what are you worried about once he's gone, you know? So I think the Titans and the Colts are going to be battling for that division.
Yeah, of course. Them two and them two alone. Straight race for the division title.
And I think Wentz is an upgrade from Rivers.
Yeah, Wentz is an upgrade from Rivers. Wentz's ceiling is a lot better than Rivers is what he had left in the tank.
Rivers was living off of his brain and knowledge this last couple of years, where Wentz has a lot more talent. His arm is super strong and talented. I think Wentz's problem's between his ears.
Yeah, as long as he stays healthy. As long as he stays healthy, like Wentz will be the player for... Wentz will be the upgrade. And is Wentz better than Tannehill? The Colts might have just got the best quarterback in their division assuming that Watson won't be there next season.
Yeah, I mean, good possibility because I don't know. I like Tannehill, but I don't know where I feel about him because he's played great with Vrabel, played awful in Miami, but that just might have been Miami being freaking awful. And then another thing that's really going to help the Colts is we all thought the salary cap was going to be around 175. NFL just announced it's going to be a minimum of 185 and could be around the minimum 180 and could be up to 185 depending on the 17th game in the TV deal, which in the scheme of things, that's going from an $18 million cut, you know what I mean, to possibly 13 million or even less, you know what I mean? So
that helps out a lot of teams. Yeah,
because they were banking on 75 for the last few months. If they get an extra 10 million, that's two guys that can really make a difference on your team.
Yeah, or at least being able to re-sign like an absolute stud from your team, isn't it? Like that's the difference, isn't it?
Like Shaq Barrett,
which we'll talk about in another podcast.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I told you before I think Tampa needs to sell out on him, but whatever, you know.
Yeah, I'm of the opposite opinion, and we'll definitely talk about that in another episode.
Well, everybody, let us know what you think about the Carson Wentz trade. Who won the trade? Was it a good trade for anybody? Do you think Carson sucks? I don't know. Me and Matty both think it was a good trade pretty much all the way around, only because the Eagles put themselves in a horrible position. But yeah, let us know in the comments. And if you're watching us on Facebook, please like and follow. If you're watching us on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. And if you enjoyed us or even hated us, tell a friend to tell a friend.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm Jay. That's Matty.
Yeah. Cheerio.
One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio, guys.